Dr. Kim. Thank you so much for being here with us and accepting to share with our members. So, I would like to start with my first question, and it's so can you tell us about your current work and how it connects to the field of forced migration?
So I'm a professor at University of Buffalo School of Social Work, and I'm also directing Immigrant and Refugee Research Institute here at University of Buffalo. So I wanted to share how important the Erie Immigrant and Refugee Research Institute is to my current work. So I co-founded the Immigrant and Refugee Research Institute, or ERIE for short, back in 2014. And our mission is to work with the immigrant and refugee communities to build practical knowledge together and then share it right back with the community. So we are all about community-based, community-engaged research. So basically our work is intentionally collaborative in nature, and we partner with the community we serve and co-create the knowledge. Then we share our findings directly with the communities from which we collect the data, which then shared with the broader academic community to expand our collective understanding and help people in Buffalo and beyond. That's our goal in Erie. So uh, we have a very distinct dissemination approaches, and research conducted by researchers often end up in the academic journals. That's our goal, right? Publishing, publishing, publishing. So these academic journals mainly target academics and are rarely useful for the people for the communities and other stakeholders like policymakers or service providers. So we have modeled a dissemination strategies that encourage communicating vital information in a timely manner with the refugee and immigrant communities and also the providers. So that's what we have. And a separate account, ERIE also try to respond to the needs of immigrant and refugee communities and service providers through a few initiatives, hosting community resource guide webpage. We do have it on the page because they requested it. They were looking for a place they can put all this information together so that they can have access to it. So we said, we can organize it, we can provide that information. And we also provide some basic health information that is in a very simple language so they can be translated into any languages easily. That was what we have done. And we also recently we started publish a bi-weekly newsletter, BERC, we call it BERC. It's very regional. It's Buffalo Immigrants and Refugee Collaborative Newsletter. This is just the beginning phase. So we are still looking for a lot of news, from everywhere. But I'm hoping that this will help them to get connected with the university, the community partners, and the service providers to do that. And also, university researchers who are interested in the immigrant and refugee population will know what's going on in the community. So we know it takes a little bit of time to get some tractions on any work. So this is one of them. So ERIE Immigrant and Refugee Research Institute I am directing has made continuing efforts to become an integral part of this collective and collaborative movements to improve the lives of Buffalo's immigrant and refugee communities. So let me start with the current project. So currently I am evaluating a pilot workforce development program led by our local government. This initiative is dedicated to support individuals on public assistance advance their career as they work toward self-sufficiency, which is important. It recognizes that when they start earning a little bit more, they run into tricky problems. So a few extra dollars they started to earn doesn't really make up for the benefits they lose because of it. So to tackle this issue, the county's Department of Social Services have been working with the community partners to make this transition smoother and easier. And as you might know, considering the immigrants' demographics, it is no surprise that about half of the program participants, are immigrants or refugees, mostly refugees. So this gives us wonderful opportunities to learn firsthand knowledge in how refugees navigate this journey of economic integration and self-sufficiency into this a new society. So right now, we are looking at the employment trajectory of the refugee participating in this program. That's our current work.
Thank you so much for sharing and explaining like what you're currently doing, which is so much work and so valuable. So my next question is, what drives your passion for this work?
Okay, I have to say that the research is my way of practicing social work, helping individuals, families, and communities. I approach my research as a direct response to the needs of the communities I work with, and I try to focus on research questions that address their issues and concerns. I said I tried. There is no guarantee that I am doing it, but that was my intention. And that's how I tried to design my study. So I engage communities when I set up research questions, and I engage with the community when I am working toward, collecting data and analyzing data. That's what I try to do. So my goal as a social work researcher is to ensure my work genuinely help the people I study. As a social work researcher, it's all about the utility of research. What put us, social work research, apart from the other part of the research is that I think this utility of research with the people, with the individuals, families, and communities. So my research is all about making a real impact on people's lives. What can our findings tell us about the best direction for our policies and practices? And of course, sharing our findings with a larger audience through a publication is an important part of my work, my job and my research. But it's not about just publishing for my CV. I constantly challenge myself, is this a new finding? Or does this matter to the community we've been working with? And most importantly, how can we use this information to influence and shape better policies and programs? At the end of the day, I think what makes social work research unique is its practicality, its utility, its work with people. If my research results in something that community service providers or policy advocates and policymakers can put into use right away, that would be a huge win for me.
I have one last question, which is, considering the current research and literature on forced migration, what gaps do you believe require further exploration?
Hmm. So that's a really good question. I just wanted to note that if when we discussed forced migration, we are referring to a diverse group of individuals, including refugees, asylees, refugees, and others. Their backgrounds and their living situation, their conditions in the United States vary greatly. But they all share one important thing in common. They had to leave their homelands, their home countries, due to life-threatening situations. So I wouldn't call it necessarily a gap, but I think we have to be conscious of this vast diversity within this group. Instead of seeing them as one single monolithic group, it's important to recognize and appreciate their unique backgrounds and situations they're living in at this point. So combining these diverse groups in terms of their legal status, cultural backgrounds into one umbrella term may cancel out their differences. So if it happens, our findings may not applicable to any of them. Or sometimes we're just talking about one group, let's say Afghan evacuees, and then we claim that we're talking about refugees overall. Doesn't work. So if we claim something that is not true for some groups, that is a problem. And some factors may be similar to all groups. I would say, like, language issues and cultural difficulties. Those are very, very unique. Okay, those are very common issues. But how they affect their lives, how they experience it, uh, could be quite different. So it's really important for us to consider these differences in our study design and interpretation of the results. And we shouldn't claim that is not beyond, the scope of study. I think that's important. So also, we have done a pretty good job in identifying issues faced by these populations. We have done some literature review, we have done exploration in terms of the issues, problems, and challenges, difficulties. We have done them. And of course, there's always more work to do. At this point, if we could move our energy toward something, more practical, I think that'll be what the communities need. So based on what we have learned so far, it would be great to focus on creating strategies that help solve the problems, reduce their sufferings, and make the transition and integration process go more smoothly in this society. I think those are two things I probably wanted to share with you.
Thank you so much. That was my last question, but is there anything else that you would like to share, that you would like to note during this interview?
Not much. You have a good question. You had a good questions, and I thought, oh, those are very interesting questions. And I think this is a great opportunity for me to share, what I've been thinking about and what I have been doing so far as a researcher who tried to make a difference in the field through research. So, as a community-based and community-engaged researcher, you probably heard about it, but about 80% of your work is not related to research, per se. Uh, I spend a lot of time with the communities, and I spend a lot of my energy and put in a lot of energy into, you know, uh, into the practical stuff. It's not really about, research, but through that process, getting to know the community and working with the community and trying to help them within my capacity, uh, I think the community-based researchers build the trust, which is so tremendously important to factor in your research as a community-based researcher. And then you can conduct a research study or research studies that matters to the community. If they don't trust you, they're not going to share any thoughts or any meaningful thoughts, and they don't invest their time. They don't invest too much until they start to trust you, saying, "Oh, if I talk to uh, Dr. So and so, I can see that she or he is going to bring in something that is useful for our community or for our agencies." So I would say, working with the immigrant and refugee communities and in the field of forced migration, also, it is important to build that kind of trust with the communities, with the people we work with. We're not going to be someone who's going to come in to the community and collect the data and leave. And the communities will be like, oh, I never heard back from them. That will be very detrimental to the future community-based researchers who have a very good intention because the damage is done every time we're doing it. So I think it is important and to have that trust relationships bring back bring back the study results to the community and make sure the study results are shared in a meaningful way with some practitioners and also policymakers whenever uh, it is possible.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for being a part of this.